Okay, functions. There's lots of different functions. They all work. There's this trick you can use to work with all of them. So again, all you have to remember is the name and what they do, and we'll have Excel help us fill in all the blanks and stuff like that. There's a series of financial functions you should probably know something about. This is not a course in finance. We won't go through today. Well, today and maybe one other day we'll do a little bit of stuff with finance functions. But once you learn how to use one function, they all work pretty much the same way. All right? There's several ways to insert a function. You can go to the Formula tab on the ribbon, and it has them nicely grouped there by different groups. And then, like the payment function, the PMT function calculates a periodic payment on a loan, given the amount of the loan, the length of the loan, and the interest rate. Okay, how much do I have to pay, like a monthly payment or something like that? And so I want to use that one. Well, I happen to know that's in finance, so I could just click here and find PMT, wherever it is. There it is. Or if I'm on a different tab in the ribbon, there's this f of x guy right here. And it brings up a different way to get to that function. So again, here's the financial functions. I can scroll down to find it. Or if I don't remember which grouping it's in, because sometimes they put them in groups that don't make sense to me, but somebody at Microsoft thinks they do. You can just go all here, and it puts them all in alphabetical order. Okay? So really all you have to remember is, okay, I need to calculate a payment on a loan. It was called PMT. And then we can have Excel help us fill in all the blanks. So we can find it, however. And as you can see, there's a lot of functions. And I can, come on, where is it? Come on. There it is. Okay. However you select that function, you'll end up at this dialog box. And this allows us to fill in all the different pieces of information it needs, and it'll tell us when we've gone off the road and tell us when we made a mistake and all that sort of stuff. It's a great way to do this, especially for functions you don't use every day, like the sum function. Pretty straightforward. Here's a set of cells, add up all the values in it. That one you can find through here too, but that one you remember. If you use the payment function every day, you can probably do it, but frankly, I use this once a semester, twice a semester, and then I forget it. So, okay. So we need, I've got some information here. I've got a $20,000 loan. I want a 5-year loan for $20,000 at an annual percentage of 4.25%. I want to calculate my monthly payment. How much do I have to pay each month on this? All right? Everybody clear about that? Okay. So the rate. See, these things are called arguments or parameters, and it tells you, if you read right underneath here, it gives you it tells you what it expects to see in there. The rate, it says here, the rate is interest rate for the period, per period for the loan. Per period of the loan. The period of this loan is the month, right? I want a monthly payment. That percentage is the yearly percentage, so I need to convert that to the monthly percentage. I'm not charging 4.25% per month. I'm charging 4.25% per year. So to adjust that, all I have to do is divide that number by 12. So here, I would just pick that cell and divide by 12 to get me the monthly interest rate. Okay. Now here I can put a hard number into a formula because I'm pretty safe in assuming that there's going to be 12 months in the year for a long time to come. Okay. So occasionally when you got a hard number like that, like pi, nobody's going to change the value of pi from 3.14159 to whatever in the near future. So we can leave those in there. But other than that, you want to put them out there. All right. NPER. What's NPER? Well, I don't remember. So I can come in here, I can look at this, and down there, and it'll tell me again. It says NPER is the total number of payments for the loan. Okay. How many payments do I have to make? Well, it's a 5-year loan, but I'm making monthly payments, so I would have to do this times 12. Okay. 60 payments. Okay. And then the next one down, PV. PV stands for is the present value, and that's the total amount of the loan. So that would be this $20,000. Okay. And notice now that I've got all those filled in, it gave me an answer, $370 and some odd cents. Okay. The arguments that have boldface, the ones that are in the dark type there, those are things you must fill in for the function to work properly. The ones that are in ordinary type, like these other two here, the future value and the type of loan, those are optional. Okay. Generally speaking, you don't have to fill those in, but once you get out in the real world, you might need those. For example, here, it turns out there's a difference in your monthly payment if you pay at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. Okay. This is all finance stuff. You don't need to remember that in this class, but that's what those are for. So if you want to change that, you can do that. All right. If you've made a mistake, you'll see something over here in red, or down here, this number will have some red error message telling you that you haven't set the thing up right. Okay. If this little bit of help down here is not enough help for you to fill in the thing, you can always click on Help down here. It'll take you to the Excel internal help system, and it'll in plain English, or what passes for plain English, I guess. It'll explain it in a little bit more detail, and usually, almost always, where is it? There should be an example here. I don't know why it's not showing up. Usually there's an example to help you puzzle through this. All right. So again, all you have to remember is the name of the function and what it does. What kind of number it produces, what kind of output it produces, and then you can have this thing fill it in for you. All right. Okay. Oh, I put it over here. All right. Okay. So I should be able to. If you get something like this where you get all those pound signs, hashtags, all that's telling you is that the column is not wide enough to properly display the number, and you can just come up to the top and put the cursor between the two columns, the line that divides the two columns, and you can just drag it like that, and it'll make it bigger, or you can just double-click on it, and it'll automatically widen or narrow it so that it's just big enough to properly display all the numbers in that column. Okay. So $370.59 is my monthly payment. It did it that way because finance functions automatically assume that you want it to be formatted in accounting format. That's how accountants display negative numbers in a spreadsheet. Okay. If you want to change it to a different format, you can just come up to here and you can change it to whatever you want. Okay. Now, the reason why I did this, instead of putting numbers in this function, right in here, for example, I could have just put the number 60, but again, I don't want to put numbers in there like that because then it makes it hard for me to do what-if analysis, try out different things, and say, well, maybe I don't want it for 5 years, maybe I want it for 4 years, or maybe I want it for 6 years, or whatever. And I certainly don't want to have to touch my formulas any more than I have to. So by doing it this way, all I have to do is come back here, change this number to whatever. And so I said, okay, well, if I stretch it out to a 6-year loan, then my payment goes down to that amount and stuff like that. So I can tinker around with different amounts, different lengths of loans. Maybe another bank has, maybe I want to compare one bank that has a loan for 5 years at a certain percentage versus another bank that has one at 6 years at a certain percentage and all that sort of stuff. That's why we like spreadsheets, because we can do all that sort of stuff. Okay. So we can do that. So let's go back to this. 5-year loan, $20,000 is what I start off with, 4.25% interest. And my payment was $370 and some odd cents. But all I can afford is a $300 loan. That's all I can afford in my, given my present circumstances, is $300. Well, we could play around with this, and I could put like $18,000 here. And I'm getting closer, and then I can say, well, I can put $12,000 here. Whoops, not there. Don't do it there. All right. So you can do that sort of stuff. That's what we do with spreadsheets. We create a model, and then we test out different things. Okay, well, that's way under. Well, I could keep guessing back and forth until I got it. Or a much more efficient approach would be just to create in a table like this, where these are the various amounts that I could think about borrowing, and then I just write the payment function here, where I use some, mixed reference. Do I have any mixed? No, I just have absolute and relative referencing here. And I copy the thing down, and now I can immediately see that to get underneath $300, it's going to have to be something around 16.4 or whatever, right? If you set these things up right, creating this table is not much more work than creating this table. All I had to do was put two numbers in here, copy this down. That's the only additional piece of work I had to do. But now I've got a much more useful calculation, a much more useful workbook, however you want to think of this, and I can do that sort of stuff. All right? Future value. Let me just show you, talk about that one. FV. Okay, let's make this. I've got $5,000, and I'm going to deposit it in some sort of savings account someplace, and I can get 2%. I wish, but let's just pretend like I can get 2%. Okay, and I'm going to leave it there for 5 years. And what I want to know is how much that's going to be worth at the end of the 5 years. Okay? Well, I could write it, I can do compound interest and I can figure this whole thing out, but there's a future value thing that'll do it for us automatically. So if you know what the function is, you can just start typing it in. And I happen to know this is FV for future value. And you'll get this little drop-down menu here. And if you pick the one you want, then you can just hit the tab key, and it'll automatically fill in the rest of the function name for you. Okay? And then once I've got that in, then I can just click on the f of x guy, and it brings me back to this dialog box. So there's yet another way to get to this dialog box. Your choice, however you want to do this. Okay. So here, the rate. It's the percentage rate. Okay, well, this is compounded yearly, so all I have to do is put the 2% in there. Right? I'm done. I don't have to multiply, divide, do anything. It's just done. Okay, number of payments. How many years do we compound the interest? Well, it's a 5-year thing, right? So we would put that in here again. So again, we don't have to adjust this because the periodic payment here is yearly. We're done with it. And then the payment. Are we going to make any additional deposits on this loan or on this money that we're putting in the bank? No. So we can make that a 0. And then in this case, we do need to get down here. PV, the present value. How much are we going to deposit? Well, it's this 5,000 here. And so at the end of that 5 years, we're going to make a princely roughly $520 interest. Okay? So these functions, again, all you have to remember, name of the function, what it does. Well, actually, you should remember, probably the other way around. Okay, I need to do this, and it's called that. And then you just call up the dialog box, and you just fill the thing in, and you don't have to remember all that stuff. Okay. So even though we're going to be dealing with 100 functions or something this semester, it's not a big memory. It's not like having to memorize 50 formulas in physics or chemistry or whatever. Okay? All right. Questions about this? One last word of caution on finance functions. Every time you do one, think about what's the payment period. Is it monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever? And then make sure that, like, the number of payments reflects that same unit of time, and the percentage rate is based on the same unit of time and stuff like that. So if we took out a loan that we had to make a payment on every quarter, then we'd want to divide the interest rate by 4 and the number of payment, or the years times 4 to cover up the number of payments and all that sort of stuff. So this is a place where many, many times people make a mistake. They forget to do that, and they'll get an answer, but it's not the right answer. and it'll just go on with it. Okay? All right, so on P2, there's a couple of problems for you to do. Go ahead and start working on those.